Sometimes when I want to make myself feel angry, I head on over to The Truth About Cancer. It's YouTube's leading example of Badger's Law, which states that websites with the word truth in the URL have none posted in the content. Scrolling through their latest offerings, you can see the usual nonsense ideas about the causes of cancer and how to treat it. Our old friend Doc Newsom has featured recently. This heavyweight of the natural cancer treatment scene has no less than 7 fake PhDs to his name, and you can check out my video on Doc Newsom here if you're interested. But what I wanted to talk about today is this video, which is titled Curcophanol, the unknown natural cancer treatment advancement everyone needs to know about. Well, it caught my attention because I'm part of everyone and I've never heard of Curcophanol before, and the presenter is none other than Rashid Buttar. He's a mover and shaker in the alternative medicine world, and there's no better way to confirm this than his 4 entries on Quackwatch and the extensive list of adverse actions on his medical license. Rashid Buttar has managed to raise his profile recently with some rather predictable conspiracies about the pandemic, but I wanted to talk about this video on Curcophanol, which was recorded at The Truth About Cancer Live in 2019.
All right, let's talk about curcophanols. Sounds kind of delicious, doesn't it? Curcophanols? Okay. Some kind of alcohol? Now, I don't drink alcohol, but anyway, curcophanol sounds like something you'd find in dark chocolate, right? Curcophanols. And actually, it is found in certain types of substances that you're probably very familiar with. Curcophanols are found in hops, they're found in CBD, they're found in turmeric, they're found in sea cucumbers, they're found in certain components, in certain types of ingredients that people don't recognize. But it is the curcophanol that is actually the bioactive component that allows turmeric and curcumin and CBD and some of these other, or hemp, to have some of these benefits. Curcophanols are part of the curcuminoid component of turmeric, all right? And the curcophanols, what's amazing that what we've found is that if you can isolate the curcophanol and introduce that into an individual, it does 2 things. It's anti-inflammatory.
So I'm going to pause Rashid here because he said something at the time that piqued my interest. He said that when you introduce curcophanol into an individual, it does 2 things. Now, he never actually gets to the second thing in this clip, but as soon as I heard him say that, I knew there must be some kind of clinical research on curcophanol to support that statement. There must be a trial or an experiment where curcophanol has been introduced to an individual. So I went to Google Scholar and I searched for curcophanol, and I can honestly say I was quite astonished to discover that there is no such thing. There is no chemical or extract called curcophanol, and the reason that this natural cancer treatment advancement is unknown is because it doesn't exist. I talk a lot about fake cancer treatments in my videos, and when I say that these treatments are fake, what I usually mean is that they don't actually treat cancer. But here, Rashid Buttar has ascended to a new level of alternative medicine by presenting a treatment that is entirely fabricated, exists only in his mind. Now, if you scroll down to the comments, you can see that more than one person wants to know where they can buy this non-existent treatment, so hats off to Rashid Buttar for creating demand for a product that isn't. One frustrated would-be customer had this to say: "Where can I learn more about curcophanol? This is a tease. Is there any available supplement for this?" I searched Google and there's essentially nothing on it except this video. The Truth About Cancer responded to this comment by claiming censorship. "Hi, if you're not finding search results on Google, we recommend using duckduckgo.com. It's not censored like Google is, and you should have a better chance of finding information there." Now, rather impressively, DuckDuckGo brings up a PubChem entry for a compound which I'm going to pronounce as curcophanol. Nothing to do with censorship, by the way. Now, curcophanol does appear to have some similarities to Rashid Buttar's curcophanol. For example, the mysterious curcophanol is supposedly found in sea cucumbers, whilst curcophanol has actually been extracted from sea sponges. Now, both of these organisms fall firmly into the category of weird stuff that lives under the sea, but sea sponges and sea cucumbers are actually fairly distantly related to each other. But it's a coincidence that leads me to believe that this could be a spelling mistake on the part of Rashid Buttar and The Truth About Cancer. But that's not really the end of it, because Rashid Buttar gives a specific description for the kind of compound that curcophanol is.
Curcophenols are part of the curcuminoid component of turmeric, all right?
So according to Rashid Buttar, curcophanol is a curcuminoid, and these are all diphenyl heptanoids, which means they have 2 aromatic rings separated by a chain of 7 carbons. Curcophenol, on the other hand, which is the compound which DuckDuckGo links to on PubChem, has a totally different structure with a single aromatic ring and a 6-carbon branched chain extending from the side of that ring. So the mysterious compound that Rashid Buttar is describing really doesn't exist, but for the sake of argument, let's assume that he's spelled and pronounced the name wrong, incorrectly described the chemical structure, and misattributed the source of the molecule by confusing sea sponges with sea cucumbers. Is curcophenol a natural cancer treatment advancement that everyone needs to know about? No. Unlike the non-existent curcophanol, there is a smattering of research on curcophenol, including some on potential antimicrobial activities and one paper which showed that curcophenol may slow the growth of a specific cancer cell line in the lab. And this may sound promising at first, but the problem with this kind of study is perfectly captured in XKCD's comic 1217. When you see a claim that says a drug or vitamin kills cancer cells in a petri dish, keep in mind, so does a handgun. The problem here, of course, is that without some kind of control, there's no way of knowing if curcophenol or any other proposed cancer treatment is acting specifically on cancer cells. And I want to break back to Rashid Buttar's description of curcophanol for a second here, because he uses an analogy that is just too priceless to exclude.
This seeks out inflammation and shuts it down. Now, many people are using turmeric orally or IVs or curcumin, this and that, but they're taking it's like, it's not recognizing that if you look at an apple, for example, and that's probably a bad analogy, look at a car, what makes a car run? Well, there's many different things that make a car run, and every aspect of the car is crucial. But there's always that one part that without it, no matter what you have, it doesn't matter. Some people say, well, it's the carburetor you need, or you need the fuel injector, you need gasoline, you need this, you need that, or you need... Well, that's great. You can have everything there, but if you don't have somebody to operate the car, to drive it, it's not going to go anywhere, right? Think of the curcophanol as that part. It's the driver. It's a bioactive constituent, all right?
Okay, so apparently that car analogy was an improvement on the apple analogy that he thought better of, and the analogy is completely broken, of course. The car is going to travel just as far without gasoline as it does without a driver, which is nowhere. It's not going anywhere. But the point he seems to be trying to make here is that we should strive to identify the active components in natural products if we want to use them as medicines. And this runs completely contrary to what most people in the natural medicine movement want to believe. It's quite amusing to see someone stumbling into science-based medicine here almost by accident. Yes, Rashid, natural products are a great source of pharmaceutical medicines. Where do you think tamoxifen, aspirin, morphine, quinine and penicillin came from? And of course, extracting and purifying these components is how we give people a safe and consistent dose. As for the conclusion of my video, well, if you search in normal Google right now, that is not in Google Scholar, you'll get about 8,000 results for curcophenol. It's a real molecule, but it's not a cancer treatment because it's never been used to treat cancer. If you search for Rashid Buttar's curcophanol, which is not a real treatment because it doesn't exist, you'll still get about 800 results, and they all link back to Rashid's video in some way eventually. I have to say I find this quite fascinating. It really shows how the web of lies in alternative medicine can spread from just one false post being copied and pasted hundreds of times. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if search results for curcophanol eventually exceed those for curcophenol. Well, that's it for this video. As always, I'm working on several other things for this channel. As I mentioned before, I'm open to collaborations, and we're nearly at 2,000 subscribers, so if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I'd really appreciate that.